And the phrase goes like this: it's not where you start, but all about how you finish. And that can be applied to Mr. Justin Perona, because his starting point was not desired, and yet what he's walking in currently, he wouldn't see himself doing anything else, and he accredits his success to his God, Jesus Christ. But if you listen to his story, you'll see that he was able to track where his God was at every twist and turn. So listen up. It's definitely what's good in South Jersey this week. What's it like growing up in Runnymede?
From the outside looking in, Runnymede would be a small town, right? Like a decent town, nice suburban area. You're about 5 miles from Camden, 7 miles from Philadelphia, right? Very local. You can get to New York, the Turnpike, fairly easy. All the highways are right there. Deffert Mall, probably 5 minutes away, you know? So it was a good environment, right? Like, I had a lot of friends, a lot of people growing up in that town, like close to my age, right? So, you know, I grew up with my mother, my grandmother. I didn't really have my father in my life, right? So he was never really in the picture. So yeah, my mother tried to do all that she could do, you know, to make sure I had food, make sure I had shelter, make sure I had everything that I needed. Yeah, the housing environment wasn't that bad, you know. Schools pretty diverse, like, you know, we had multicultural, you know, which was pretty decent. Just a very small town.
Who were your role models, would you say? Who were the ones that you were looking up to?
Let's say like Jadakiss, Styles P, Jay-Z, Nas, like, you know, Meek Mills, Lil Wayne, like all of these type of artists that, you know, at the time I thought were like, man, like, that's what I want to be like. You know, I want to be in that environment, have the money, the girls, the cars, all of these different things, right?
What was your favorite Jadakiss song, if you don't mind me asking?
You could go with Why, right? But like there was a lot of more underground songs that, like, you know, like the whole D Block, man, growing up was like, me and my boys, like, that's all we listened to, bro. Like, you know, like we were big into music, right? Like a lot of the Philly rappers coming up, like Meek Mills, Kaboom, NH, like all of these different freestyle rappers, right? Like that was very big at that time. Like, you know, we were influenced by, like, and kind of helped me find, like, you know, I thought was my identity, right? Like wanted to be a drug dealer, wanted to, you know, have all these flashy clothes, sneakers, cars, women, all of these things around me, right? Like that I thought was cool at the time.
Describe how you were in school.
When it came down to school, I was constantly suspended, right? Like I was constantly in trouble. I remember my 7th grade year, going into 7th grade, like I was always a class clown, right? I remember I had gum in my mouth, right? I put gum from my mouth in the teacher's hair. She had to cut all her hair off. Her husband was the police, one of the police chiefs in the town of the school that I went to. They immediately came, arrested me at school, in 7th grade, mind you, 7th grade, middle school. Came, arrested me, charged me with aggravated assault. I ended up getting put on an ankle bracelet going into 8th grade year. My last year in middle school, I had an ankle bracelet on. I had probation, which I was already in trouble before that, but nothing like, you know, so they kind of used that as like a violation of the probation that I was already on. You know, they told me, oh, well, you know, I had psychiatric evaluations because I was getting in trouble in school. They sent me to different places to have therapy, and they'd be like, you know, your son has ADHD, your son has anger disorders, your son has ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, like all of these things that I kind of used as my identity. Like I said, okay, well, they're telling me that I'm broken. They're telling me that I'm anxious. They're telling me that I have ADHD. So I began to use that as my identity, right? Like, well, if these doctors are saying that that's what it is, then I must be broken.
Justin predicts the medications were a doorway to getting him addicted to drugs, self-medicating, and the word curses people surrounding him spoke over him didn't help either. And though he was introduced to Big Brother programs due to the absence of his father, Justin says it made him worse due to the inauthenticity of the ones running the program and the lack of encouragement.
I kept violating my probation. It got to the point where my probation officer was like, look, you got to go back in front of the judge. You're not getting it right. You're getting in trouble in school. You're getting suspended. You know, you're not obeying your mother, your curfew. Pretty much everything that I was supposed to do, I was not doing. So that freshman year, I ended up going back in, like towards the end, I went back in front of the judge in Camden County juvenile court. And yeah, that judge, he tried to give me a rude awakening that day. And I remember he asked my mother to speak, because mind you, I was a juvenile. My mom had a big role in, you know, what went on in court. Like if she said, hey, he's trying, whatever the case is, then they would kind of lean more towards that. But she's my guardian. But what happened was she broke out in tears. She said, look, judge, like, I can't control him. Like, you know, it's just me. He doesn't have his father. He doesn't listen to me. You know, just basically, which I held her to blame for a long time for getting me sent away that day. But now I understand, like, she didn't know what to do, right? She thought that it was going to help me. She was looking for any answer to help at that time. So, yeah, whatever she could find. So the judge himself came off of the bench and put shackles on me. Oh. Yeah, the judge himself, he said, you know what? You're going to learn what it means to respect your mother, to stop getting in trouble.
Lakeland Detention Center is where Justin was sent, as well as the Yes facility, for nearly a year. And Justin describes being there as chaos. And he ended up running away back to Runnymede for a week before taking his mother's advice to turn himself back in. And the same judge, Judge Hornstein, sent Justin to Vision Quest for 8 months. That resulted in some progress, entering the ROTC program and taking the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. But Justin says he wasn't fully changed. Describe the time where you started to think differently about your life. What was that moment, or take me back to that moment, share that moment where something was different for you?
I got saved about 6 years ago in 2020. It was the last time that I was incarcerated. I remember being on the phone. Now, I've done county bids in Cumberland County, Salem County, Camden County, Burlington County, been to Annandale, been to Jamesburg, been to many different jails and prisons, right? And I always would adapt, have fun, run around, play cards, gamble, you know, make it a joke almost. Well, this last time I remember being on the tier, on the phone, and before this, just nothing felt like fun anymore. Drugs, like, you know, I wasn't able to have fun anymore. It was like all misery and hopelessness. Well, when I ended up getting picked up on the warrants and I was in Atlantic County, I remember being on the phone and just having like almost an outer body experience, right? Where I seen myself and I seen everyone on the tier, like 50-year-old men, 60-year-old men, younger kids, right? Just joking and laughing and like having fun. And I was like, dude, like, this is not fun. Like, I can't do this for the rest of my life, you know? Like, I'm over this. Like, I wasn't into the cards no more. I didn't want to, you know, get involved with the jail drama. Like, I just wasn't beat for it. And it was like, I think for the first time in my life, I realized, like, I gotta really do something different. Like, something has gotta give. I've tried the rehabs. I've tried many different things. And I think before that, my mom had been talking to somebody and she had told me, like, yo, you need God. Like, and it was like these tapes were replaying in my head. Like, God is the answer, you know, like Christ is the answer. And it just so happens that time in jail, there was a gentleman on the tier who, he always had a Bible. He had no family. He literally, part of his testimony, he traveled with carnivals. Like, he was a carny. And like, yeah, and like these people took him in and he would like minister and evangelize everywhere he went. And he had the daily bread and he didn't have no money on his books. I did. I would help him with soups and, you know, we kind of got a little close, right? I ended up getting moved to a different tier or working in the kitchen, which I got in trouble. I think I might have like taken some food from the kitchen. I got sent to the hole. He got moved And for whatever reason, he was on the same tier, which now we were locked down 23 hours out the day. I came out of my cell. There's no roommates. You shouldn't have bunkies. There's 6 empty cells. I had my own cell. He had his own cell. I came out of my cell to use the phone for my 20 minutes, and he was like, yo, Justin, like, God is going to move you in here, bro. Like, you know, like, it's for you. It's for his plan for your life. And I'm like, bro, like, God's not going to, like, we can't even have bunkies. Like, and I'm going to be real. I only had probably 6 to 10 days to do in the hole. I just wanted to sleep it off. You're locked in a cell for 23 hours out the day. I didn't really want to have him beating me down all day, you know, about something like just about the religious things like that I thought it was, right? Well, just so happens that God ended up really getting me moved in that cell. An hour later, classifications came to my cell like, Perona, I need you to move downstairs. I moved into this guy's cell, right? Sure enough, and what I know now is it was God's plan. I call him an angel, whether he is or he isn't. He saved my life, you know, and it was God who used him, right? And in that cell, in that ADSEG cell is where I surrendered my life to Christ. And, you know, for the first time in my life, I felt the word speak to me, like it came to life, you know, through God's word, like it just jumped off the pages. And I knew that this is what I needed in my life. And my perception on who Christ really was changed because this man enlightened me. And I realized that, yo, if God saved him and he's been through the same things that I've been, drugs and, you know, not having a father and all of these things. And then he asked me my testimony and I really didn't understand what that was. And he said, look, man, you need the glory in your story. And I asked like, yo, well, how do I attain that? And he said, man, like, you got to repent, surrender your life to Christ.
Justin has surrendered his life to Jesus for 6 years now and works in a treatment home, providing the same attention and pouring into that he received while in a cell. And even before Justin changed his life, there was one event in particular that affirmed that God was with him that he'd like to share.
One day I was in Camden. I was trying to go and buy drugs. I was on the sidewalk and literally a tractor trailer came on the sidewalk, ran my leg over. I literally was in ICU for 30 days. My whole right foot was rebuilt. I have staples and rods in my foot. All my nerves, tendons, and ligaments literally blew out. I was in ICU, right, for over 30 days. I got out. I had a cast and I had a wheelchair. Once I got out of the wheelchair, I just had crutches. But mind you, I still had an addiction. Now I was prescribed a lot of pain medications for my injury, but I was using them before, like I was running out way before I was supposed to, and then I would end up being sick from the meds. So I was still having to get high, right? My buddy, he was also in active addiction. He was driving at the time, and one night he calls me like, hey, let's go to Camden. Like, I got this amount of money. I was like, all right, I got this. Let's go get some stuff, right? So we go one night. It's around 12:30 at night. I'm on Barron Street in Camden. And we pull up to the block. I was always the one to get out. Even though I had a cast, I had crutches, right? I got out. I'm waiting in the alley for people to come in there. And while I'm waiting, man, like someone came from the other end of the alley and started shooting at the people that I was buying the stuff from. And I had my back facing. Now, mind you, I had a cast on my leg. I had crutches. I couldn't run. I was the furthest in the alley. Next thing you know, I got hit. I got grazed once, and then I got hit right next to my spine. These guys got away. I don't know. I know it was God that supplied me with the strength in this moment. I literally hopped up, threw my crutches, and just started sprinting.
Stop playing. Stop playing. Wait a minute. You got grazed.
Yeah, and hit. I got hit twice, yeah.
But you are with cast
with
and
cast
crutches.
and crutches.
And you're telling me.
I got up.
Stop playing.
I'm dead I'm dead serious.
Bro,
it was almost like, it was like so much adrenaline that was pumping, right? Like, because
like some Holy Ghost on you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I found this energy from within. I got up. My boy I talked to them after. They heard it. They didn't know what happened, whether it was a robbery. They didn't know. But I didn't even run to their car because I didn't want to bring nothing to them. I just kept running, man. Like Forrest Gump, I just kept running, bro. I stopped the bus on Broadway in Camden. They let me in, took me to the transportation center, and and then my buddy picked me up and took me to Cooper Hospital. Mind you, the same nurse, once we got there, came out, was the same nurse who took care of me for my foot injury. When she came out and seen that it was me, she said, man, she said, you have an angel protecting you. You need to stop doing what you're doing. And it took me in. They took my clothes, took my buddy's car for an investigation. I ended up going to immediate surgery. And bro, the amazing factor of this is like, the doctor said like, yo, you should be paralyzed. Like it's literally not like an inch away from your spine. And didn't even exit. So if it would have exit, I would have probably bled to death by running, but it didn't. So one grazed me, one hit me. These guys got away, right? But it is what it is. I was protected by the true and living God even before I had surrendered my life to him.
In Bridgeton, I'm Isaiah Shoel with Follow South Jersey.